G'day everyone, and welcome to this short presentation on growth and business sustainability in entrepreneurial businesses. Now, in this week's topic, we're going to talk a bit about the concept of growth, how it is that entrepreneurial firms go from being startup business ventures to being ongoing viable business concerns, and how they do that in a sustainable way. How is it that organisations can actually grow and develop their business in such a way that they're able to deal with that change, because growth is not an easy process in organisations. It requires resources, and time and effort is certainly a key part of that. And how they do that in a way that ensures that the business has sound base, that it's grown in a robust way, and that the business is able to develop and grow into the future. Because we don't start a business in most cases to wind it up in 2 or 3 years' time. We build it because we want this business to be an ongoing concern, to provide either employment for us as an individual in an ongoing basis, or enabling us to sell that going concern to another person to realise that effort that we've actually put in. So in this topic, what we're going to do is look at firstly the issue of growth. We're going to talk about why and how it is that businesses actually grow. And a lot of that will be based on what's called the Greiner model of business growth. And you can see here on the screen is an example of this model. And I think even though it's getting a little bit old, the model was developed in 1978, it does still give us a little bit of an idea about how it is that businesses evolve over time. And as you can see, we start off here at the very beginning, at the bottom left-hand side of that figure. And what we see is that in the initial stage, the business is able to grow purely through its creative efforts. Okay, because we've been able to come up with something new, different and novel that has never been around before, we're able to grow and develop our organisation. And we come up with something that provides new value to customers, and that enables us to capture some of that value back. Now, in these early phases, there's not a lot of planfulness in the business's growth and development. We're really just capitalising on the opportunity and trying to realise that benefit. But what tends to happen at this, sort of towards the end of this stage, is there becomes a little bit of crisis of leadership within the organisation. The organisation realises that if it's going to grow and develop into a fully fledged business, that it's really going to require additional leadership resources. It's going to require some clear vision and focus in terms of how that business might grow and develop into the future. Once that tension has been resolved, then hopefully the business can go into the phase 2 stage, which is growth through direction. It now has direction, it now has focus and purpose in terms of what it's trying to do. It has a clear vision and mission in terms of where it wants to be as an organisation. And again, the business will start to grow and evolve and develop. But then eventually there will become what's called a crisis of autonomy. So what a crisis of autonomy means is that the business itself has become too large, become very big, and it can't easily be managed and led by one individual person. So we need to delegate, we need to give some level of authority to lower levels of the organisation, so the business is freed up to grow, and so the entrepreneur themselves has also got time and space to actually grow and develop their own ideas. This, if resolved, will then lead to another stage of growth, and this is the growth through delegation, where we've dissolved and delegated responsibility for decision making to different people within the organisation, and we've now got an organisation that starts to look more like an ongoing business. It's a business where you have people responsible for key tasks and key focuses. Then at some point again, we will face what's called a crisis of control. So there'll be a crisis of control within the organisation which needs to be dealt with. And again, once that's dealt with, once we find a way through that, we can grow further as a business through coordination. Okay, so by making sure that our business is operating in a coordinated and systematic manner. Now, unfortunately, what tends to happen at some stage within that phase of development is that the organisation itself can become bound up in red tape. It can become too bureaucratic, it can become too regulated. And so what we then have to do if we're going to grow further in this final stage of development is find a way of growing through collaborations, by working more in partnership with people inside and outside the organisation as a way of achieving the organisation's objectives. Now, as I said, Greiner's model has been around for quite some time. It's a well-established model. It's talked about quite a lot in the literature. And we'll use that model as a starting point for our discussion in terms of thinking about what growth needs. Now, given these stages, the key question we now face is how do we grow in a sustainable way? How do we ensure that as our business develops, we're not undermining the very reasons we got into this business in the first place? How do we ensure that we remain profitable, that we are viable, but at the same time ensuring that we have rewarding work to do within the organisation? So in this topic, I'm going to give you a number of different resources which will look at some of the ways or strategies or ideas that we might adopt in terms of growing our business. This is not an exhaustive list, it's just an exemplar of what we might actually do. But it will form a central point for discussion as we go through this particular topic.